Hippersons does dayboat hire, stand-up paddleboards, accommodation, and we have private moorers.
Orbis Energy is a building where it houses many tenants. It's an office building and it has conference users and virtual tenants.
Suffolk Libraries runs the 44 libraries across Suffolk, 3 mobile libraries, pop-up libraries, and we have 10 prison libraries.
Our factory here at Lowestoft, we produce burgers, fish, chicken dippers and lots of other coated chicken products.
When we first heard about COVID, it was encouraging hand washing, displaying posters and reminding people. We had to initially just use our common sense.
There was a bit of a gap between COVID being known and the libraries closing, and we knew that libraries would close eventually.
No one could ever think there's going to be a pandemic that's going to just stop you trading completely. There was absolutely nothing that we could do.
The practices that we put in place to deal with COVID were numerous. We could ensure social distancing, arrow marks on the floor telling you to go around one-way systems, to keep back from other people. We had to start quarantining all of our stock. They had to go into a special quarantine area for 72 hours. If we have someone in at a computer, after they've used it, it will be thoroughly cleaned with antiviral spray, just to make sure that everything's clean, ready for the next customer.
We've changed car parking, so we've got some of the car parking for our guests and some for our moorers. We make sure that toilets are being used by different groups of people and they can be kept separate. We've sent electronic waivers out to everybody to sign instead of paperwork. We've made a lot of videos so that people can see what we would normally say to them if we sat in a boat or went into their accommodation. Basically, we've risk assessed everything.
We have lateral flow testing on site. We do over 1,000 tests in a week. In our canteens, we have the tables spaced out and we have one person per table. So we have COVID marshals. They do social distancing audits on site.
We looked at space and how many people at capacity you could have. So our boardroom that used to seat 20, we now seat 8, and there are only 8 chairs in there. The thermal wheel was switched off. So what happens with the air handling is only fresh air is being thrown in, that air is extracted out.
We were always reasonable at communication, but we've got better. And we're trying to keep at that level of communication because it just keeps everybody happier, everyone knows what's going on, everybody's clear about it. Because the most important thing for us is our staff feel comfortable to be able to operate with our guests and they feel happy.
I think we've learned to follow the guidelines and consider others. So if you take responsibility, if you don't feel well, don't come into the workplace.
Don't make any assumptions. You have to be incredibly responsive. You have to be able to think quick and actually be able to communicate fast as well.
When you start digging into what's making the money for you, you start realising where you're spending a lot of effort and not actually making very much money. And you have to make some really hard decisions that you know some people will be happy with and some people won't.
Setting up an incident management team was a really good point. It gives everything a focus and also gives a focal point to communicate from.
One thing I've noticed is once people have been back in the workplace for a few days, they soon feel more comfortable.